Welcome back, everyone, to another Talking Point. I'm Mayor Mike, and with me today are Angel and George Mueller and Dr. Markman. Len, right?
Right.
Len Markman. We're going to talk about something that I kind of took for granted that seems to be much more widespread than I thought, and that was anaphylaxis. So, Angel, George, tell me a little bit about your experiences, the history.
So our experience is our 18-year-old son was helping his friend with yard work and got stung by a bee and started to have an allergic reaction, like immediately. He was unconscious within 10 minutes. And him and his best friend, both being Eagle Scouts, had no idea what was happening. And when the volunteer first responders came on scene, they did not have epinephrine auto-injectors. And most people call them EpiPens. But our 18-year-old son wound up passing away from a bee sting. And because of that, my husband and myself are driven to make change across the country because it's just unfathomable that your child, 18, just graduated, raced dirt bikes, Eagle Scout, gonna run the generational farm, dies of a bee sting. So we're really doing what we can to make change.
And George, you had no idea, obviously, that your son had allergies.
We had no clue if I don't even know if he was stung before. I had no idea. So why would you carry an EpiPen for something you don't know you have?
Right. And, in talking with all of you, I've learned that there are so many different types of allergies that I am fortunate to not have taken part of. But I know lots of people that are allergic to kale or bee stings or, any number of things, and some that I learned about today. We'll talk about those in a bit. But because of what happened to your son, you started something that I want to be part of. I want the city of Stevens Point to be the first city in not just the country, not just the state, but it's my understanding the entire world potentially, that has a program to not only train people in the use of these epinephrine injectors, but have them available. And they will be, at some point in the near future, available right next to our AEDs to provide life-saving opportunities should they ever come up. Tell me about how that program started with you.
Dillon was an organ, eye, and tissue donor, and through that we were asked to speak at a Lions Club banquet, Lions Eye Bank banquet, and Dr. Markman happened to be there receiving an award. And he was touched by our story and wanted to make change as well early in his medical practice, but with his medical practice getting busy and a young family, it never came to be. But then our story and our tragedy boosted up his enthusiasm to get going on something to make change and make sure that everybody has a epinephrine auto-injector available very close by to save their life.
That's amazing. So, Dr. Markman, you and I met under non-typical circumstances. There was the Pride celebration in Point, and you happened to have a table. You and I started to talk about this, and
I was so thrilled to see that you were excited about this because this is the first time that a city has committed to be prepared, have an anaphylaxis prepared community. I've been working with UWSP, and they also are the first university to be committed to having an anaphylaxis prepared campus. So together, like I said, we are setting history for really the rest of the country to follow.
Well, it's good in one sense that we are creating that historic kind of timeline. Sad in another sense because this isn't already happening. I'm sure you can give me statistics about types of allergies that people have and how many people are affected by this, but we have Narcan in our ambulances. We have AEDs for sudden cardiac arrest. In many of our buildings, we track where those AEDs are at the communication center, the 911 dispatch center, so we can provide those life-saving things, but we don't have these auto-injectors.
So we should have had these a long time ago. And there's been reasons because of costs and things like that where it has not been made easily available. The first responders that responded to Dillon, I'm sure they would have loved to have an epinephrine auto-injector. They could not afford those at that time. There was only one available, and it was an EpiPen, and it was expensive. Now we have 5 different epinephrine injectors available. The prices come down. And we know that anaphylaxis is increasing. 1 out of 20 of us will have an anaphylactic reaction as adults. 1 out of 13 children are at risk in school for anaphylaxis. Wow. So I actually just talked to he's a father in New York whose 3-year-old son, Elijah, went to daycare. He dropped him off. He had a severe milk allergy. He never came home. The daycare did not have epinephrine. They had no one trained. And so he has taken on a mission on himself to have all daycares have people trained in epinephrine available. And New York has passed that law. Several other states are interested. But even then, they don't have what we call Dillon's law. Dillon's law lets us train anyone. They can get a prescription for epinephrine, take it to the pharmacy, and carry it with them wherever they go. I shouldn't say they'll get a prescription. They now get a certificate. Our new law lets them just get a certificate. We train them, they get a certificate, they take it directly to the pharmacist, and they can carry epinephrine wherever they go.
Okay. So tell me a little bit more about Dillon's law and how that came to be. Angel, George?
Well, in 2017, we had the law passed in the state of Wisconsin. Governor Scott Walker actually came to the local high school where Dillon went to school to sign it. And that says anybody who takes our curriculum, our course, or Red Cross course can carry an EpiPen or epinephrine auto-injector.
So you don't need to actually, me for example, I don't have any known allergies, but if I take the course, I can go to the pharmacy, show them my certificate of completion, and purchase an epinephrine auto-injector to have with me in my car.
That's
for
correct.
example. So if I see someone on the side of the road, or I'm at a sports game for my nephew or something like that, and we could have people trained to provide those life-saving things in the event of a situation where it comes up, right?
That's
Yep.
correct. Anywhere is in the state, even restaurants, businesses, organizations.
I can't believe here we are, 2022, and this isn't already happening everywhere.
So in 2013, President Obama let the entire nation of schools have epinephrine available next to their AED in all schools. Then here in Wisconsin in 2015, they added on to the schools businesses. So any business, daycare, campground, whatever, they could have epinephrine auto-injectors available for a business. Well, we thought, wow, you can be at school or at your work, but then when you go home, what if you're at the ballpark for your kid's softball game and you can't save somebody's life as a good Samaritan? So as I was telling our local representative about this, he took notes, and in less than a year, we had Dillon's law. And Dillon's law says as long as you're trained, you can carry an epinephrine auto-injector as a good Samaritan to save someone else's life that may or may not know they have an allergy, and also be covered under the Good Samaritan protections of the law. So there's no fear of liability if they are trained. And anaphylaxis can come on so fast, 1 to 15 minutes. So think about that when you're at your local fish fry, which is very popular here in Wisconsin. How close is the nearest epinephrine auto-injector when you're at your fish fry? And it's not just eating the fish. You could smell the fish, or it could get on your skin, all different avenues of exposure. So it's really, before all this happened to Dillon, I was very ignorant and I took it all for granted. Sucks to be you got to carry that thing. But now I am way on the other, both of us, all of us are on the other side of the fence. This is like common sense to help your
I agree
neighbor.
Completely. So, Dr. Markman, tell me a little bit about anaphylaxis, some of the things that are common allergies or allergies then that you might not even know you have, and what happens if, how do I know someone is experiencing anaphylaxis if I'm out in public?
Well, anaphylaxis is much more common than we realize. The word anaphylaxis actually means, ana means against, and phylaxis means protection. So it's a reaction, it's a severe allergic reaction against your body's natural protection.
Okay.
The main thing to recognize is that it's sudden, severe, and systemic. By sudden, I mean these reactions go, just like she
Very
said,
quickly.
within 1 to 15 minutes. There are delayed reactions, and we're well aware of those, but even those, when they start, they go fast. By severe, these are life-threatening or potentially life-threatening reactions. And by systemic, I mean it's going through the body's system. The opposite of systemic would be local. So if you got bit on your hand and it swelled up and got to be a little red spot, and that's the only symptom you had, that's a local reaction. It's not a systemic reaction. But if you got bit or stung here and you have hives on the other side of your body, on your arm, you're starting to wheeze, feel dizzy, shortness of breath, or stomach problems, that's gone through your body's systems. So in humans, 4 systems. 90% of the time, it's going to be skin involvement. 80% of the time, it's going to be respiratory. So people will be wheezing, kind of. 55% of the time, they're going to get dizzy, lightheaded, pass out. And about 35% of the time, it's going to be stomach problems, nausea, vomiting, cramping.
Okay. So let me ask you this, because I know this is the big question that jumps out of my mind. If I am trained in the program, and I see someone who's maybe having difficult breathing, I think it's a reaction, and I use the epinephrine auto-injector. Turns out it was asthma. What are the negative side effects if I use that epinephrine auto-injector on someone who is not having a reaction?
So it's always hard to tell, be 100% in medicine. In that case, actually, it would help the asthma because it relaxes the muscles and helps people breathe better. That's why we use it for anaphylaxis. But the side effects of epinephrine, it's adrenaline, so your blood pressure goes up, you get a little shaky, you can start thinking quicker, people get excited, but the side effects of epinephrine, it's the only medication where there's no contraindication. If somebody's having an allergic reaction, it doesn't matter if they've just had a heart attack, if they're pregnant, they need to have epinephrine.
Okay. That was one of the things that jumped out at me, because I would hate to second guess myself and do something that is actually detrimental to the situation.
The words we're using now is epi first, epi fast. The sooner you get it in,
okay,
the more likely you'll have success of preventing fatalities.
So, excellent, great information. And as I said, my goal is to get some city staff trained, and we're going to offer it to all city employees. We will commit to having that epinephrine pen at all of our AED locations.
So excited.
And
I can't help it.
I'm going to work with the communications center to start documenting those. So when other businesses want to jump on, as I said, the 911 dispatchers, they have many of the AEDs in the city located. So if I were to call right now and say I'm having a heart attack, let's say you call and I'm having a heart attack, they could tell you, walk down the hall, turn left, second door on the right, hanging on the wall, there's an AED, grab it and come back. They can walk you through this. So I want to have the same for EpiPens, the epinephrine auto-injectors.
Absolutely.
At City Hall, that's all I can commit to at this point. But I'm hoping and encouraging other businesses will follow suit.
Absolutely.
And we can be the epinephrine-friendly city?
Yes.
I want to be
allergy-friendly, allergy advocates of the state.
Anaphylaxis prepared. A lot of different
anaphylaxis
terms we
prepared.
can use.
We're going to do that.
But we'll get there, yes.
What I'd like you to do now is just very briefly, because you said the training is about an hour, right? And it's really nothing. You get trained into all of the injectors, and it's an hour, and you could potentially be the person who saves someone's life, like Dillon or that little boy that you told me about. So can you briefly go through what an epinephrine auto-injector looks like? There's lots of different styles.
So there are many. This is the original epinephrine injector known as the EpiPen.
And if you hold them still, we can try and zoom in on the camera a little bit for them when it happens.
So the most important thing with this one is to make a fist around.
Okay.
Then it's blue to the sky, and orange to the thigh.
Okay.
1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000. Call 911.
Okay.
And then you need to case it, although this covers the needle, so no one gets injured with that.
Accidentally get stuck, sure.
Then you would have the person lay down and elevate their legs. Unless they're having a lot of problems breathing, they need to sit up. Otherwise, lay down, elevate their legs.
Okay, and that's to circulate the epinephrine
It's
through
just-
the system.
Exactly, and they should massage that area to keep that circulation going. And then you need to be prepared to give the second injection in the other leg.
Okay. How about some of the other injectors that you
So
have?
this one is one that is so nice and handy because it's small, fits in your pocket, it's easy to carry. These all come in twin packs.
And I should point out that these are all training
these are all training devices,
pens.
yes.
So there's no live, there's no needles, there's no medicine in them.
Yes. So this one actually talks to you.
This trainer contains no needle or drug and is for training purposes only. Do not use this trainer during an allergic emergency.
Smart.
If you are ready to use, pull red safety guard down and off of this trainer. Place black end against outer thigh. Then push firmly until you hear a click and hiss sound and hold in place for 2 seconds. 2, 1. Training complete.
Wow, that's pretty wild. The
Used for training purposes.
most of our automatic electronic defibrillators also walk you through the process. So that seems like a nice logical choice.
Yes, I did a course, and one of my friends from hometown came by, which is always trouble when one of your high school classmates come by. He said, you know, Markman, you talk too much. I can teach this course in 15 seconds. I said, okay. And he said, look, somebody gets stung or they eat something, they have a severe reaction, you grab one of these epinephrine injectors, you stick them, you lay them down, you elevate their legs, you call 911, and you get ready to stick them again. The directions are all on there.
Yeah.
And I thought about it, and it's like, yeah, he was right. I mean, that is what you need to do, and you need to do it quickly. The course goes over a lot more details about different types of allergic reactions and more statistics.
Signs and symptoms, which I think are very important.
Yes, yes.
Well, that and the fact that it's easy to say when we're sitting here, calm in an environment, but when it's your 3-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old child, and people are scrambling around not knowing what's going on, it's very difficult to take the time to stop and read the directions and then
Right.
do it. You want to do something now. So
Yep.
having that training, that muscle memory, if you will, is going to be a big advantage.
Yes.
My husband and I have done a lot of trainings in our county, well, a couple counties wide, and every class someone comes up to us, even doctors, nurses, parents of allergic children. They said, you know, I've learned something here today, the smallest detail. So even though we are not medically trained professionals, we know everything about the curriculum, and it's hyper-focused on the anaphylaxis episode and what to watch for. One of the folks that his body became allergic to bee stings after being a beekeeper, he just got stung and just started going, I think I'm catching a cold. And his son was trained. And his son said, Dad, if it's a reaction, we're going to get epi. No, it's just a cold. Well, then it started going into his lungs. And he was like, wow, this is really going to be a chest cold. Son's like, Dad, we're going. He's like, no. Well, the next beehive, he got out of the car and he was walking like he was intoxicated. He was having like dizzy spells. Son scooped him up, gave him epi, and saved his dad's life.
Wow.
So even with little people, they might say, Mommy, my tongue feels like there's ants crawling on it, or my throat feels like I swallowed a sparkler. Well, back before Dillon died, I'd be like, shut up and eat your broccoli, because kids are constantly whining about,
And don't eat
kids are
sparklers.
kids.
Yeah.
Right, but they have different ways of expressing what's going on in their mouth. And a lot of parents have no idea. They're busy, they're getting ready for the ball game, they got kids, they got work, they blah, blah, blah. They just want their kids to eat the meal and get going. They're not thinking, wow, there could be really, and it's fast. So it's gonna 1 to 15 minutes. They're not gonna have a clue what just happened, and by the time help does arrive, it could be like Dillon's case and they're brain dead.
Wow.
And so I'm so passionate. That's like, I always tell everyone, that's my happy place, up in front teaching, because what I didn't know is so easy to teach.
And that's very obvious. The passion that you have just talking about this is inspiring. I hope that people take note, and when the classes are offered, and I fully intend to have them offered here, that people will take you up on it.
Well, yeah, and we're more than willing to travel the entire state. We're through the Wisconsin Association of Osteopathic Physicians and Surgeons. Thanks to this guy, we're approved to teach across the state. And being semi-retired, we love it. I love to teach. He loves to travel, so we make a great pair. And it's free, so it's funded by our foundation, the Dillon Mueller Memorial Fund. So it's free, and it's only an hour.
Okay.
And it's a no-brainer, really.
Yeah.
From this side of the fence, I mean, we encourage every business to have it.
Absolutely. Well, and I think, like you said, it's common sense, really. Protecting your employees, protecting the students, the people that are visiting your facility. So I'm going to encourage all the businesses to jump on board with this as well. Is there anything else we need to know? I know you have a case here, and you told me about this earlier. This is it's really
this is just an example. So it depends on how a building's set up. Having the epinephrine injectors directly with the defibrillator would be fine, but they do make cases that you could put those in. They Velcro directly to a wall at the school or wherever you're at, and it's just a nice, convenient way of carrying them. But they certainly belong in a box with the defibrillator. That would be fine too. We actually have invented these stickers, so whenever you see these colors, you know epinephrine is there. So if there's a defibrillator and there's a sticker like this, you know that's where epinephrine's available.
Yeah. So let's go the next step and talk about costs. So the training is free, and once you're trained, you can go to the pharmacy and get yourself prescribed an epinephrine pen that you can carry around with you and potentially save someone's life. Great. What's the cost?
So if you have a personal history of asthma, allergies, usually your insurance will cover it for zero copay. If you're just getting it to take and carry and use someone else, the cash cost with no insurance is going to be about $100 for the cheapest one. But there's a lot of different patient assistant programs. If you make under $37,000 a year, I believe you can still get this one for free from the company. There's a lot of coupons that are offered. So it's gotten much more reasonable than $600, and now it doesn't expire within 3 or 4 months like it used to. So now they really try to keep it shelf life at least a year, 18 months.
A year to 18 months. So
And let me interrupt, because
Sure.
when you get these, they all come in a 2-pack.
Okay.
So you're getting 2 of them for that price.
Okay.
And then they all come with a trainer. So then you can take the trainer and practice with it. But once you use the epinephrine auto-injector, it's a one-time use. It needs to be replaced. But always store them separately so that you don't grab the trainer by accident. We've heard of folks passing away because, the person grabbed the trainer by accident and ran out to the field, and by then it was too late. Yeah. But that cost includes, that's the 2-pack.
Okay, so it's a 2-pack, and there's an 18-month shelf life. So if we're talking even $100, $150 a year, for a business to have it, for you to have one in your home, even if you don't have someone in your household that has a known allergy, it's good to carry in your car, in your purse. And for $100 a year for a business to invest that to protect their employees or the children and the schools or even the visitors to your business, I think that's a pretty reasonable expense.
It's a feather in their hat.
Yeah.
I mean, if the folks out there know that, wow, they're ready for anaphylaxis, they're ready with epi, they're more willing to go into that place because there's so many allergies out there.
And people are looking for places like cities and universities to send their children where they know they're prepared for one of their children to have anaphylaxis. So I think it's a good draw for restaurants and communities to be prepared.
Oh, I hadn't even considered restaurants. That seems really logical because all of the food allergies that are out there. So let's go off topic a little bit, and maybe this isn't your wheelhouse, but I have no known allergies, so I'm really lucky there. But what if I'm unsure? How can I get tested to see if I might be allergic to kale or shellfish or work?
Well, you may not have any allergies now, but the one thing is anaphylaxis, you can develop it at any time, anybody to anything. So tonight you go out to the restaurant and have shrimp, you can have a severe reaction, even though you've never had a reaction before. And so that's really key. 30% of the kids at school, that's their first reaction to school. They never had a problem at home. They developed their first reaction at school.
Okay.
Because it's not just food, it can be chemicals, it could be latex, it could be whatever's in the air. If the school gets new carpeting, it could be the carpeting.
Wow.
Your body is so in touch with all of that. And your immune system is always changing. So right now, today, none of us know if we're gonna make it through our next shrimp meal.
Wow.
So it's always good to be prepared.
Absolutely. So we've just got a few minutes left. I want to thank you all for joining us. Tell us if someone watching or listening wants to learn more, where can they go? What can they do? Who do they call?
Well, they can go to our website. It's epi4dilly.com. Let's show them the back of your shirt.
That's okay. We
Okay,
can get that.
Okay,
and
epi4dilly.com.
We'll splash it up on the screen.
Yeah, they can go to our website and look us up, give us a call. They want us to come out and do a training, we'll gladly come out and do a training.
Okay.
We'll even do back-to-back. Say there's a library that wants to host classes or whatever, we'll do a couple back-to-backs.
Okay.
But that's what they can do. They can get on
So
our website and give us a call.
I've been working with students from UWSP, and we now have many students who are trained, and the health center is trained. They'll be putting on classes that people can sign up for.
Okay.
So this will be getting more available to our community.
So we have some volunteer instructors
Excellent.
out there. It's awesome.
So if someone wants to host a class, is there a minimum?
Nope.
Maybe it's just
No,
my wife and I that want to learn.
We've traveled for 2. Because one is better than none. If Dillon would have known, we'd be in a different boat. So one is better than none. But we've gone for 2.
Absolutely.
But we together can train a maximum of 50.
Yep.
But we prefer, a
50 at a crack.
But yeah.
So there's 24 hours in the day, you got 50 people, you get...
Right.
So we could have everybody in the state of Wisconsin trained in like 4 weeks.
Easy.
So,
In a summer.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
They have already trained, and our program has already trained over 3,000 people
Oh yeah,
in
it's
Wisconsin.
way more this summer. And 9 lives have been saved.
Excellent.
People that have taken the training have called me up and said, hey, I'm so glad I took that training. I just saved my brother's life today.
Wow. That is amazing. Well, George, Angel, I want to thank you very much. I know it was terrible circumstances, but you are doing exactly what I think Dillon would want, and that is training people to save lives so it doesn't happen to anyone else. Dr. Markman, I can't thank you enough for that chance meeting that we had to learn more about this, and you have my word that we're going to get the city trained, and we're going to have epinephrine auto-injectors in the city of Stevens Point's buildings. And I'm encouraging every business that we have to get involved and follow suit. So thank you again, and we're going to get that website up on the screen. So if you want to learn more about anaphylaxis, first of all, they have a shirt that tells you how to spell it, but you can Google it, and if you're concerned about whether or not you may have some allergies or maybe a family member, by all means, seek professional guidance. Call your doctor. Don't use the Facebook as your source of information. But keep an eye out, because the city is not only going to train their staff. I fully intend to have this training offered to anyone who wants it. Maybe we'll set up at the library or the community room here. So we will have some classes in the near future, so you too can get trained in the use of the epinephrine auto-injector. Until next time, I'm Mayor Mike, and we've been Talking Point.
For more information, visit the Dillon Miller Memorial Fund's Do It for Dillon Anaphylaxis Training Program website at epi4dilly.com. Talking Point with Mayor Mike Wiza is produced by Stevens Point Community Media, stevenspoint.com/TV.